Samsung's Galaxy Note 9 is probably one of the best phones ever made. I think it's the second best Galaxy Note device ever made behind the Galaxy Note 8. The Note 9 is technically an upgrade, it has a bigger battery and everything, but because of the power-hungry Exynos processor, it didn't really give that much more performance and battery compared to the Note 8. But still, this phone was by far the most popular one I've seen. Like anywhere I went, I wasn't the only one with the Note 9. Well, as someone who has in-depth experience using the Note 9, first as my primary phone and now as my secondary device, I think we can take a look if this thing is actually worth getting as a secondary phone in 2023. Now, the phone holds up in most areas. The display is still gorgeous, the stereo speakers are great for media consumption, and the build quality is still premium with this dual curve edge design. There aren't many phones out there with a 1440p AMOLED display for such a low price nowadays. And this is also one of the only phones that doesn't have any notch and a headphone jack. It does miss out on newer features like fast charging. Samsung is really old school when it comes to charging for some reason. Even most modern budget phones have a higher charging speed than this thing. It's stuck at 18 watts. But again, not everyone cares about that based on what I've seen. Many people are more than happy to charge their phones slowly if it means better battery health. And speaking of battery health, I have had to replace the battery on this thing once a few months ago. I noticed that the battery had swollen, so I had to replace it. That's why the back looks kind of weird with a black and blue combination, because I couldn't find the original blue panel anymore. That's one of the downsides with this phone. You won't find replacement parts as easily because it's been like 4 years since it's launched, and you won't get any more software updates either because let's be honest, this thing is outdated. Of course, that's not to say that this thing cannot be used in 2023. It has tons of features which are not present on any other phone, period. Especially starting with this S Pen. As someone who has used Galaxy Note devices for almost 6 years, I know how useful S Pen can be. In fact, this phone is the reason why my channel got started in the first place. Throughout 2020 and even until 2021, I was only using this phone to shoot, edit and upload my videos. So I have edited hundreds of videos on this device. It can even do 4K 60 frames per second, so a lot of videos on my channel before March of 2022, when I got my new phone, all of them were shot with this device, so you can take a look at the camera quality yourself. It's really great. It even holds up in 2023. Well, not in every single aspect, unfortunately. I'm happy with the videos that it produces, but photos are a different story. You see, the 12 megapixel main and the 12 megapixel telephoto, they do show their age. The images aren't as detailed as I'm used to seeing because these lower resolution sensors simply don't have as much data. Most modern phones use higher resolution cameras like 50 megapixels and they downsample it to a 12 megapixel image. That ends up being sharper than a native 12 megapixel image. You can tell while zooming in, there isn't much detail at all. It has some fun modes like that live focus which blurs the background, which you can even change later on. But it uses the telephoto camera to capture them, and no, telephoto camera on this is not great. In direct sunlight, it can produce pretty good results, but nothing much else. This varying aperture is pretty cool though. It can go from f1.5 and 2.4. And yes, if you're wondering, it does make a difference. It does let in more light and produce a slightly more shallow depth of field or, background blur. Again, you can see it in action with any one of my older videos. All of them were shot with this phone. So basically, videos, still good enough for 2023. Photos, maybe good enough for social media, but nothing much else. I guess that's fine because most people will use it as a secondary phone because it's not quite powerful enough to be used as a main device. It has all the necessary communication features like 4G VoLTE and everything, but the Exynos processor is starting to show its age. And even if you factory reset, I don't think this can hold on to its performance much longer. It routinely gets hot, especially in outdoor sunlight, and the battery doesn't last that long anymore. And no, that's not because the battery is old. I even replaced it with a new battery, remember? But the processor itself is very power hungry. If you're getting a Snapdragon variant, you're quite lucky, but us Exynos folks, no, we are stuck with an inferior overheating processor. But it still has a lot of cool features, like for example, the S Pen feature as I mentioned. S Pen has this interesting function where it can extract text from anywhere, like whether it's a web page that doesn't allow you to copy, or if it's a screenshot, you can just pull out the S Pen, select the Smart Select option, and as soon as you highlight an area, it'll bring out the text from there. You can copy it to your clipboard or share it with someone directly. It's really useful. Or how about this? Like the other day, I got this comment which was in Russian. Now I wanted to answer their question, but I obviously don't read this. Now the solution would be to translate, but YouTube Studio app doesn't allow you to copy any of that text. If I were to do that on my other phones, I'll have to open my browser, go to YouTube Studio, load the desktop mode because mobile version doesn't work for some reason, and then copy it and translate it. You see how many more steps there are, right? With the Note 9, all I have to do is bring out the S Pen and just press the button to just highlight the text. It can highlight it anywhere. And there you go. Immediately you get the option to translate, and that's it. Literally within one screen, I was able to do something which I could not do in my newer 5G device. Those are the kind of features you will get with this older flagship device, which are not present on newer mid-range phones or even newer flagships for that matter. So overall, would I recommend getting a Note 9 in 2023? Yes. I still recommend you check this out as a secondary device. Again, it's not as powerful as it used to be. The battery may not last long, so you may have to replace that. But all things considered, this will be a really feature-rich, fun device as a secondary multimedia option. It has a headphone jack and the Samsung DeX functionality, so you can use this as a fairly medium-powered PC. And it's a really fun, highly functional device, especially thanks to that S Pen, which all of these tech reviewers are telling you it's a gimmick. No. Anyone who tells you that S Pen is a gimmick doesn't know how to use it. It's as simple as that. I've used it extensively, and take it from me, it's a crazy useful thing that I miss every day. So anyway, that's about it with the Note 9. I still continue to use it as much as I can as my second phone. Let me know if you have any questions about this phone, and let me know which is your favorite phone in the comments or on our Discord.